White was just asked directly which fight fell through for the UFC White House card, and he confirmed it was not Jon Jones. In a UFC 326 post-fight presser, White revealed the UFC had a brief conversation with Jones about the potential main event matchup against Alex Pereira, but he made it clear the cancelled bout was someone else. He refused to name the fighter or give details. Things that happened during negotiations shouldn't be said out loud right now. The comment keeps the mystery alive while ruling out the biggest rumored fight. Interestingly, both Ilia Topuria and Jon Jones's manager fight was either Topuria versus Islam Makhachev, a welterweight title clash that many thought could headline or co-main, or something tied to Jones despite White's denial. The leading theory online is that the UFC pushed hard for Ilia versus Islam as a massive draw for the limited 6-fight card, but the sides couldn't agree on terms, money, or timing. Let's roll the clip of Dana addressing the question, ruling out Jones, and keeping the details under wraps.
Dana, you talked about you don't want to say what fight fell out, which is fair enough, but there is obviously...
Well, there's weird circumstances around it that we probably shouldn't talk about.
Okay. There is speculation, of course, that it's Jon Jones.
No, it's not.
Was Jon
ever, which I told you guys 100,000 times, was Jon Jones even remotely in my mind to fight at the White House? Some guy with, meta glasses on filmed him talking about his hips, that his hips are so bad. And I don't know if you guys saw that flag football game where he can barely run. Jon Jones he retired because of his hips. He's got arthritis in his hips. Apparently he's been, doctors say he should have hip replacement. The Jon Jones thing is bullshit. Okay. I'm not saying they weren't talking to Jon Jones and that Jon Jones wasn't interested in the fight. And what was even crazier is Jon Jones came out and was like, I'm in negotiations right now for the White House fight, after I had already sent a text to his lawyer saying, never gonna happen ever.
Both Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor after a dominant wrestling-heavy masterclass to win the BMF title over Max Holloway last night. And the fallout is already shaking up the lightweight division, clearly eyeing the fresh BMF belt holder as his return opponent after years away. In the post-fight presser, Charles fired back with even bigger energy, saying he's ready for both McGregor and Nate Diaz on the same night if the UFC wants to make it happen. He told them to do 170 if they want, it doesn't matter, and even floated a Grand Prix-style setup, put 2 fights on the same day, and see what happens. Ariel Helwani addressed the rumors head-on, saying it's no secret the UFC was heavily looking at McGregor facing the winner of the Oliveira-Holloway BMF bout. But after Charles's performance, where he controlled Max with takedowns, top pressure, and ground dominance, Helwani believes Oliveira may have priced himself out of that Conor fight. The BMF win keeps Oliveira in the title conversation at 155, but his ground-heavy showing shifted the narrative fast.
I said a million times, Conor was not in the running for the White House. They have to make money off of Conor McGregor. They can't make money off of him fighting at the White House. And so what they were looking at was Conor fighting the winner of this fight on July 11th. After that performance, do you think that Charles Oliveira took himself out of the running for that fight because it just wasn't fan-friendly?
I mean, he's 100% out of the running for that fight, because if he could do that to Max Holloway in a sustained 25-minute effort like that, it just, I can't imagine a guy coming back from 5-year absence who actually you're dealing with his one vulnerability that was kind of a known vulnerability of going to the mat.
You're 100% right. I mean, honestly, Michael Chandler was the fight. Michael Chandler should still be fighting Conor McGregor. They are giving him the White House card, which we'll talk about in a moment, but you're 100% right. I think there'll be way more interest in that. There is one small issue. They have to make a deal with Nate Diaz. They've got to sign him. They've got to get him back.
Dana White just addressed the ongoing situation with Khamzat Chimaev, confirming that the middleweight champion is dealing with some personal problems right now, which is why he's not competing on the UFC White House card on June 14th. In a recent press conference, White made it clear the issue isn't about Chimaev being unable to enter the United States. His past travel restrictions tied to connections with Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov were resolved years ago, allowing him to compete and win the belt at UFC 319 in Chicago. Fans had speculated political reasons or President Trump's preferences might have blocked Chimaev due to his Chechen roots, especially since many expected a high-profile Khamzat versus Sean Strickland matchup to headline or feature prominently on the patriotic event. But Dana shut that down, saying it's not a visa or entry problem at all. Instead, he acknowledged Chimaev is going through personal troubles that are keeping him sidelined. This comes after months of inactivity since he captured the middleweight title in August 2025 without a defense. Fueling frustration among contenders like Sean Strickland, White has repeatedly pushed for Chimaev to defend at 185 before any talk of moving up, but personal issues appear to be the real hold holdup right now. Let's dive into what Dana White had to say.
That's on him, though. He's got stuff going on in his personal life. That's not because we're not getting him a fight. Obviously, you know how it goes here. I talk about this all the time. We have to get guys 3 fights a year. So if we don't get guys 3 fights a year, we have to pay them.
But
the only way that wouldn't happen is if they have personal stuff going on.
Can he fight on U.S. soil right now?
Sure.
Okay, so there's no issues there in terms of hurdles.
No.
Luke Thomas just shared his take on Luke praised the top 2 fights as solid draws, but called the rest of the lineup very forgettable and lacking the high-profile matchups fans expected from such a unique, high-profile event. He felt the UFC could have stacked it with bigger names to match the once-in-a-lifetime setting on the South Lawn for America's 250th anniversary. At the same time, he made it clear he's happy the UFC didn't reward Jon Jones with a high-paying spot on the card. He pointed to Jones's recent chaos, retiring, then unretiring almost immediately, creating uncertainty and frustration for fans and the promotion. Luke sees the decision as the right call, avoiding giving Jones a massive payday and legacy boost after that back-and-forth behavior, especially with his history of reliability issues. The card remains short due to capacity limits, and while the headliners carry weight, many fans and analysts believe the undercard fell short of expectations for such a historic show. Let's roll the clip of Luke Thomas breaking down his mixed feelings on the White House card and why he's glad Jones wasn't rewarded.
Would I rather see Islam versus Ilya? Sure. Would I rather see Ilya versus Arman? Yes. But I don't hate. I mean, given where we are, and given that Gaethje is an interim champion, I don't hate that fight. I actually kind of like that fight. And I got to tell you, I really like the co-main. And I also got to really tell you the fact that TKO didn't reward John, at least on this card. I mean, who knows if they might have some plan later on down the road. But at least on this card, they didn't reward him. I was very happy to see. Would have been not that awesome to me if he would have just ducked the shit out of everyone and then just gotten on a big card and a big payday. I thought for sure that they were going to do it. I mean, but remember, there were these cryptic tweets from his management yesterday. So who the hell knows what happened there? But I'll say this: main and co-main, I like the main and co-main. I think the rest of that card is very forgettable. It's 6 fights. 2 at the top I think are really good. And then the rest are